Product managers' core responsibilities include working with the team to design, build, ship, and continuously improve a product. During product management interviews, most companies love to hone in on your ability to execute against these responsibilities by asking how you might think about designing a product. The popular product design questions usually takes the form in something like, walk me through how would you design product X for user Y. Some common example questions we have frequently heard include, design a pen for an astronaut, design an alarm clock for a blind person, design an elevator for an individual in a wheelchair. Now, when you answer these type of product design questions as part of a product management interview, you should always approach them with a framework in mind. Step 1 is to ask clarifying questions. Remember, there is no point continuing with an answer if you haven't fully grasped the situation. If a candidate is asked to walk through how he or she might design a better wallet, there is a set expectation that the candidate will first ask clarifying questions such as who the wallet might be used for or what better means in context of a wallet. Remember, product managers don't just dive headfirst into launching a product without first understanding the whole situation and the business goals. A candidate who doesn't ask clarifying questions is a big red flag and tells the interviewer that she would design products without understanding what a user truly needs. Step 2 is to communicate your answer outline. There is nothing worse for an interviewer than trying to follow a candidate's unstructured train of thought when responding to a product question. It's crucial to demonstrate that you have taken time to comprehend the situation and then lay out some groundwork on how you plan to answer this question. Showing that you are organized by structuring out your answers to these questions will put your interviewer at ease and keep your thoughts in line so that you don't ramble or go off on tangents. Step 3 is to identify the users or the customers and their use cases. Now, although you might have lightly touched upon this while asking some clarifying questions, this step is extremely crucial to locking down exactly who the product's customers and users are and their use cases. Remember that for certain products, the customer and the user of the product may be different. For example, in the educational app or the games market, parents are often the customers who buy these apps or games for their children to use. At this point, it would be great to ask more clarifying questions to your interviewer about whether or not they want to focus on a particular user or a particular customer to save time. Step 4 is to identify gaps in the use cases. Now that you have compiled a list of various use cases, it's time to put your mind to thinking about how current product or current solutions in the market address these use cases and whether or not there are any gaps or room for improvement. Taking a step back, it's good to look down your users or customers and think about the qualities that are special to each one of them. Like a true product manager, like a true customer advocate, put yourself in their shoes and think about their limitations and values. This will help you to better identify weak spots in current product offerings. Step 5 is to brainstorm features or improvements and prioritize. Now that you have figured out the gaps that current products are missing to address user or customer needs, it's time to break out that thinking cap and brainstorm solutions to address these gaps. Make sure that your features and improvements match the use cases that you have listed earlier. Don't be afraid to ask your interviewer if you are on the right track or if they prefer you to focus on one or two of your ideas. And with this shiny list of brainstorm features and improvements, it's time to prioritize which of these you might focus on and what the trade-offs would be for each solution. When you prioritize your ideas, it's important to use some sort of decision framework. Once you have come up with this list, think about the pros and the cons and the trade-offs of choosing to implement each solution. This lets you automatically play the devil's advocate to your own ideas to show your interviewer that you are thinking about all facets of the solution, including the edge cases and the potential negatives here. Remember, every interviewer out there, they love to see candidates critically thinking about their own ideas and talking about the trade-offs proactively. Lastly, you need to summarize your recommendation. Now you're almost done with your product manager interview. Let your interviewer know what your final choice is and feel free to review how you came to the solution and why it satisfies the user's needs or the customer's needs. If you haven't elaborated enough already, feel free to reiterate why you chose this solution over the others on your brainstormed list. So with that said, let us walk through a typical implementation of the aforementioned framework in a mock interview setting.
Hey, how are you doing today?
I'm good.
The question that I have for you today is, you are a PM at Uber. Design a ride-hailing platform like Uber for specially abled people.
Alright, just to make sure I got the question correctly, basically I'm a PM at Uber and I need to design a ride-hailing platform for specially abled people, correct?
Yes.
Alright, so give me a minute so as to devise my approach.
Sure.
Alright, so let me walk you through how I'm going to approach the problem here. Firstly, we'll try to understand the question and our requirement of the day correctly. Post that, we'll identify the user groups and prioritize a few user types. After that, I'm planning on walking in their shoes to understand the overall journey that the customer undertakes, to understand what pain points they might face on that journey, and after that, we'll actually go ahead and ideate on certain solutions. Sounds good?
That sounds great. Please go ahead.
Alright, first things first, I have a few clarification questions. First of all, what do you mean by disabled people? Because there are various types of disabilities that people suffer from. This could be blindness, deafness, physically challenged, mentally challenged, etc.
For the sake of our discussion today, let's choose physically challenged people.
Okay, so to reiterate, this app that we are building, it helps physically challenged users hail cabs and have a smooth experience while riding. Yes?
Yes.
Is there any particular geography you want me to focus on?
Let's focus on worldwide operations. We are not looking at anything specific in terms of geography.
Alright, so let's identify our goal. Firstly, we know that physical disability is one of the most difficult predicaments that one could have in their lives. If you think about it worldwide, there are more than 1 billion people who are affected by some kind of disability, which actually comes down to almost 15% of the overall population of the world. Now, in terms of defining physical disability, I think if I have to define physical disability in a very, very broad way, it's someone who doesn't have all of their limbs or who has lost function of limbs. Now, depending on the type of disability and the limb function lost, there could be various challenges faced by these folks. I think for the sake of this exercise, can we actually go ahead and keep this limited to folks who have either lost or they have limited or no leg function? Again, to reiterate, this is in no way taking every user type into account, but I think for our 20 to 30 minute discussion, this gives us a good starting point.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, sure. At the same time, however, I believe the tech world today is largely blind to the inequity that exists in the products we build today. We need to solve for this crisis and include everyone in the technology revolution. Hence, in my opinion, for today, our goal is to create a great ride-hailing experience for physically challenged folks with limited to no limb functionality. Make sense?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Alright, thanks. Now, I think we should map the user journey to identify the factors that contribute to a not so pleasant experience for people with disability in the ride-hailing experience. What I'll do is I would like to divide the overall journey into individual phases here. Now, before the ride, they don't know if the driver will honor the ride if he knows that the rider has a disability. At the same time, they don't know if there is enough space to park devices that helps them to move around, which is in this particular case a wheelchair. Secondly, when they are waiting for the ride, they don't know if the ride will come exactly to the location because of the fact that the rider would not be able to walk further to get it from a pickup point. Again, this is very generic here. When they are boarding the ride, they don't know if the car has a ramp that can help them safely get on. At the same time, they don't want others to touch them while getting on the ride as well. During the ride, they need the right kind of seatbelt that can assure safety while riding. At the same time, if while commuting they want to get some work done, they need some sort of safety measures in the car. Now after the ride, they want to be boarded off in a safe location, and they need to be ensured that they are dropped off closest to their locations to ensure commute distance is low after dropping off. Now I think that's the overall journey, but then again, in terms of the user segments here, we have teenagers, we have young adults, we have working professionals, and we have senior citizens. Now, I think based on the overall commute frequency and the solutions available in the market, I would say that working professionals today, they have the maximum amount of pain in this case, since they must commute more frequently to and fro from their place of work. Next, for the working professional, for our particular user type today, let's identify the user pain points. I think again we can categorize the user pain points into a few buckets. The first one is accessibility of pickup and drop-off points. Second one is accessibility of the car itself. And the third one is education and sensitization for the drivers who are helping physically disabled riders here. Does this sound reasonable?
Yeah, this looks good.
Perfect. If this is it, then let's actually go ahead and move on to some pertaining solutions. Alright, I think the moonshot idea for solving all of our challenges or eliminating the issues faced by the physically challenged people is where Uber actually ventures into the autonomous vehicles industry, and they manufacture single-person vehicles that help them to commute from place to place based on the input provided.
Hey, I will pause you there. While that sounds amazing, I don't think we, as Uber, have plans to expand into the autonomous vehicle vertical. Hence, what I am looking for is how can we enhance the functionality of Uber today rather than 10 years in future.
Oh, alright. Sure, then give me a second, let me ideate a little on the whiteboard here. Give me a few moments. Alright, I have a few ideas, so let's go through them one by one. Now, the first one that I have is an Uber ramp where a particular set of cars from their overall fleet will be equipped with special equipment that can help riders get on easily without feeling embarrassed, and a more configurable car that helps them have more space in the car. Now, I think this is a solution which will have very high value, and the effort that's required is medium in this particular case. The second obvious solution is audio support for booking a taxi and getting necessary information, where a user can actually go ahead and speak. The value for this particular solution will be medium, and the effort to build this will be very easy. Next, we can actually plan a specific service called Uber Ricker. Now, the idea here is, since there might only be a few cars with the accessibility features, users should actually be given an option to schedule a recurring ride to and fro from their location, which is generally their place of work. I think there is very high value in this, and again the effort to build this one is particularly low. I think the value here is very high because our user base is actually people who are going to commute to their place of work every single day, every single working day, and in my opinion even the effort to build this is very low because you already have a framework in place. The next feature which I can think of is precision rides that will help riders be picked up exactly from a place and dropped off to safe locations for them. Again, the value for this particular one is very high, but the effort here will be slightly more. I think the effort will be medium here. The next one is sensitization training, where drivers should be sensitized about how they need to behave with the physically disabled riders, ensuring their comfort. Again, the value of this is extremely high. At the same time, the effort is low in this particular case. The next one could be where Uber can actually partner with companies or nurse houses that can help the riders. The value here is medium, however, I feel the effort here would be pretty high to identify these nursing homes or companies out there. So I think based on our ideation and the ratings that we have given to solutions, in conclusion, I think we can say that because we are designing Uber for people who either have limited or have lost complete functionality in their limbs, and we are looking at a sub-segment of people who want to commute to their offices, as we are looking at enhancing the current functionality rather than thinking about a moonshot idea here, we'll start by creating a special service that allows physically disabled people or disabled riders here to access cars easily, and at the same time we need to sensitize drivers to work with specially abled riders as well. We will be marking certain sections of our cab fleet with ramps to help these folks with their wheelchairs, and since there might be only a few cars, they can actually go ahead and schedule pickups and drops in advance as well as in a recurring fashion. At the same time, in the longer term, we can add precision rides capability, which will be added for these folks so as to have a very convenient experience. There will be certain metrics that we need to consider for the validation of our overall idea, obviously. In my opinion, these metrics would be: 1. Number of riders and the number of rides that are completed. 2nd, number of 5-star rides from these particular riders. 3rd, number of complaints lodged by these riders. And 4th, number of cancelled trips. Now again, this will be in 2 buckets: number of cancelled trips by the drivers and the number of cancelled trips by the riders.
Thanks. That sounds like a sound reasoning and approach.
Thank you.
Take care and have a good day. Bye.
Bye-bye. Take care. Alright, so that was one possible answer to a product design question. Know that just learning the framework isn't enough. You need to be able to apply it in an interview setting as well. Hence, make sure to keep on practicing more and more on these questions. With that said, thank you for your time, everyone. Feel free to put in your ideas, comments and responses in the comment section down below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one.